My name is Abebe Zegeye, based principally in Ethiopia, but also in Europe, in South Africa, and sometimes in the US. And I've been an academic almost all my life. Since I finished, I never did anything but that. So I have an experience of both of writing, academic work, also working as, which is many people find it unusual, also publishing. I've been involved. I was the head of UNISA Press for 3 years, and also have collaborated with a number of publishing houses like Routledge in this example, Sage, Africa Oral Press. I felt when I was a graduate student that there wasn't much of possibility for African students in the UK. This was 79, 80. There was no space for African scholars to publish their articles, their books, etc. Therefore, I started the initiative dealing with different issues, different topics. It was actually the person who actually started me going was this guy called Hansel Publishing House. Hansel lives now in Scotland. He basically told me, he heard my complaint. He said, stop complaining, get on with it. And that actually was the best advice I got. Then I got into the journals. I worked with David Green when it was Carfax, before it became Routledge and all that. We started a journal there called Social Identities, African Identities, and African and Black Diaspora. Those 3 journals, I was the founding editor. For I had a chance to write my own stuff, and my discipline is principally sociology, but I go across almost all the social science and humanities. And that's been, those years were the years of specialization, but I actually stayed away from them. I also taught sociology, and one of the difficulties I have was I was teaching a course on poverty, South African poverty, and there was no textbook. So we were supposed to adapt either a UK or US or Australia textbook, and you write around it some kind of using that to understand South Africa. I just refused to do that. Instead, I wrote a small book which I taught, which I used for teaching on poverty, South Africa poverty. And there was a lot of difficulties, and one of the reasons there was difficulty was a large number of South African blacks didn't have a chance to write, or were not allowed even to the libraries, let alone write. For I have to come, assume that knowledge production is not only written, it comes in different forms. Therefore, I had to think carefully, how do I include these people's experience? Before I started reading the poetries, I started using all kind of stuff to teach music, and I incorporated those things in them. And that was a success. As part of one of the books which we are republishing as part of the Routledge 30 Years of Democracy is that book. So South Africa has been formative for me, but it didn't stop me in that sense. I also extend myself to the continent. I was lucky to be at UNISA when by far one of the best position to be. I was allowed to become, I was professor of sociology, then a professor of, I moved from sociology to UNISA Press for 3 years. People thought I was completely mad, giving up all the privileges of not teaching summertime. And I thought, look, I work 12 months a year anyway, therefore it doesn't make a difference to me. But that was also extremely, it opened up a lot of doors. In terms of technical knowledge of publishing, it helped me a great deal. I was in academia all the time, up to now, but I allowed myself to involve myself in publishing, in distribution of, or in the production of knowledge. and I kind of knew what lacked. And I assumed the problem was not really there was not enough information or not writing. Just people don't have access. Therefore, I helped to do that. One good example is I remember a group of Kenyans who were based at WITS, went back home, back to Nairobi, and I helped. I helped to start that journal, Eastern African Literary and Cultural Studies. South Africa, I think there is a misunderstanding of South Africa. I think South Africans learned a lot from the anti-apartheid movement, not only in exile, but within South Africa. I think what happened was South Africans developed an incredible sense of how to fight. I mean, that's the strength of, to me, that's the strength of South African movement. Unlike, for instance, the Liberation Front or what we did in Ethiopia, is that civil society became so important in opposing apartheid. And how can that be done? Not through government decree, but by collaboration of people, by movement of people. And the road to democracy, there were certain chapters which are very interesting because they deal with Africa, they deal with the contribution, etc. Therefore, in that sense, Mbeke's initiative was very good. And therefore, there are initiative, and if we don't do that, I think we'll be left behind.